The first stone missed his head by inches, the second struck his shoulder with a sickening thud, the third hit his forehead, splitting the skin above his eyebrow. Blood streamed down his face, mixing with sweat and dust as hundreds of angry voices roared around him. Thief! Beat him! Teach him a lesson! The young man curled into a ball, trying to shield himself from the kicks raining down on him. His shirt was torn, his lips were swollen, his ribs felt as though they had shattered. Yet, strangely enough, as another kick landed on his side, he smiled. Not because he enjoyed the pain, not because he had lost his mind, but because the money was safe, hidden far away where nobody would ever find it. And once he got out of prison, everything would change. At least, that was what he thought. 6 months earlier, life had looked very different for 26-year-old Chinedu Okafor. Chinedu lived in a crowded neighborhood on the outskirts of Lagos, Nigeria. The community was filled with unfinished buildings, rusty zinc roofs, narrow roads, and thousands of young people chasing dreams that seemed forever out of reach. He shared a tiny one-room apartment with his widowed mother, Mama Chica. Every morning before sunrise, she would wake up to fry a kara by the roadside. The smell of beans and hot oil often filled the room before Chinedu opened his eyes. "Wake up, my son," she would say gently. "I am awake, Mama. Today may be your day." Those words became a ritual. Today may be your day. But day after day, week after week, month after month, nothing changed. Chinedu had graduated from university with a degree in business administration. His mother had sold her jewelry. She had borrowed money. She had worked herself nearly to death so her son could earn that certificate. The day he graduated, she cried tears of joy. "My suffering is over," she had whispered. Neither of them knew it was only beginning. For 2 years, Chinedu applied for jobs. Banks, insurance companies, telecommunication firms, government agencies, private businesses, anywhere that was hiring. His email inbox was filled with rejection letters. "Unfortunately, you were not selected. We have chosen another candidate. We wish you success in your future endeavors." At first, he remained hopeful. Then hopeful became frustrated. Frustrated became desperate. Desperate became bitter. The worst moments were the interviews. He would spend his last money ironing his shirt. He would borrow transport fare. He would sit before interview panels and answer every question perfectly. Then nothing.no call.no email.no job. One afternoon after another failed interview, he overheard 2 candidates talking outside. "My uncle already works there. You are lucky. The position is practically mine." Chinedu stood frozen. For the first time, he realized something painful. Sometimes qualifications weren't enough. Sometimes connections mattered more. He walked home in silence. That night, he stared at the ceiling. His mother noticed. "What is wrong?" "Nothing. You can tell me." He laughed bitterly. "Maybe I wasted my time going to university." "Don't say that. What has education done for me?" His mother reached for his hand. "God has not forgotten you." Chinedu looked away. At that moment, he wasn't sure he believed her. Life became harder, much harder. To survive, Chinedu accepted odd jobs. He unloaded trucks at markets. He carried cement at construction sites. He washed cars. He delivered parcels. He helped mechanics, anything that could put food on the table. Sometimes he earned enough to buy dinner. Sometimes he didn't. One afternoon, after working 12 hours unloading bags of rice, his employer handed him less money than promised. "This is not our agreement," Chinedu protested. The man shrugged. "Take it or leave it." Anger boiled inside him, but he took it, because hungry people rarely have options. The turning point came on a rainy evening. Chinedu sat in a roadside bar with his childhood friend, Uch. Unlike Chinedu, Uch suddenly seemed wealthy. New phone, expensive shoes, designer clothes, money to spend. "Business is good?" Chinedu asked. Uch smiled. "Very good. What business?" Uch leaned closer. "The kind that changes lives." Something about his tone made Chinedu uncomfortable. "Explain." "You work too hard. At least it is honest." "Honesty doesn't pay bills." Chinedu frowned. "Then what does?" Uch lowered his voice. "Opportunities. What opportunities? The kind that rich people never miss. Over the next few weeks, Uch slowly introduced him to a criminal network. Nothing violent. At least that was how it started. They specialized in stealing from wealthy targets. Businessmen, politicians, people carrying large amounts of cash. They steal from the country every day. Uch argued, we are only taking a small portion back. It sounded wrong, but it also sounded tempting. Very tempting, especially after another rejection email arrived. And another. One night Chinedu stared at his sleeping mother. The roof leaked. The room smelled of damp walls. The electricity had been disconnected again. He clenched his fists. I'm tired, he whispered. For the first time, he seriously considered crossing the line. 3 weeks later, he did. His first theft was small. A phone snatched from a distracted passenger. The money came quickly, too quickly. He earned more in 10 minutes than he could earn in 2 weeks of honest labor. The guilt was terrible, but it faded. Then came another theft, and another. Each one became easier. The fear disappeared. The money increased. Soon he was living a double life. By day, struggling graduate. By night, thief. His mother noticed changes. New clothes, extra money, better food. Where is this money coming from? I found contract work. What kind? Business services. The lie tasted bitter, yet he kept telling it. Then came the opportunity that changed everything, or so he believed. A wealthy businessman was transporting a large sum of money intended for a property transaction. The information came from an insider. The amount was enormous, enough to transform lives. Enough to escape poverty forever. The gang planned everything carefully. Routes, timing, escape methods, hideouts, nothing was left to chance. The night before the operation, Chinedu couldn't sleep. His heart raced. His conscience screamed. Every warning his mother had ever given him echoed inside his head. But greed shouted louder. By dawn, his decision was made. The robbery succeeded. At first, the businessman was ambushed. The cash was taken. The gang scattered. Everything happened exactly as planned. But there was one problem. Someone recognized Chinedu. A street vendor saw his face. Within hours, information spread. The police began searching. Community groups joined the hunt. Photos circulated everywhere. Suddenly, Chinedu wasn't invisible anymore. He became one of the most wanted faces in the area. Panic spread through the gang. Members fled. Phones were destroyed. Hideouts abandoned. Yet Chinedu remained strangely calm. Before escaping, he had secretly hidden his share of the money in a location known only to him. Even if he got arrested, he reasoned, the money would survive. The future was still secure, or so he believed. 3 days later, fate caught up with him. He was walking through a crowded market wearing a cap and sunglasses. A woman selling tomatoes looked carefully at him. Then again, her eyes widened. That's him. Everything stopped. People turned. Someone grabbed him. Someone shouted. Someone punched him. The crowd exploded. Within seconds, hundreds surrounded him. The mob dragged him into the open. Blows came from every direction. Fists, sticks, kicks, stones. Years of public frustration poured onto him. People who had been robbed before, people tired of crime, people eager for revenge. The beating was merciless. His vision blurred. Blood covered his face. Several times he thought he would die. Then police sirens pierced the chaos. Officers pushed through the crowd. Batons swung. People scattered. Barely conscious, Chinedu was thrown into a police vehicle. His body trembled from pain. His eyes were swollen shut. Every breath hurt. Yet suddenly, he smiled. A small smile. A dangerous smile. The officer beside him noticed. What is funny? Chinedu laughed softly. You wouldn't understand. The officer shook his head. The young man had clearly lost his senses. At the police station, investigations began immediately. Several gang members had already been arrested. Witnesses identified him. Evidence mounted. The case was strong, very strong. Everyone expected him to break. Everyone expected him to reveal where the stolen money was hidden, but he remained silent. Days became weeks, weeks became months. Eventually, he was sentenced to prison. As guards led him away, he smiled again. The money was still hidden, waiting, patiently, for his release. Prison changed him. Not immediately. At first, he remained arrogant, convinced he had beaten the system, convinced he would become rich when he got out. Then reality arrived. His mother stopped visiting. Not because she hated him, because the shame had broken her heart. Neighbors mocked her, customers avoided her food stand. She grew weaker, sicker, lonelier. One day, a prison officer handed Chinedu a letter. His hands trembled as he opened it. The message was short. Mama Chica had died, a stroke, 3 weeks earlier. The prison walls seemed to close around him. He read the letter again, and again, and again. For the first time since his arrest, he cried. Not quietly, not politely. He wept like a child. The woman who believed in him until the very end was gone, gone forever. And he hadn't even attended her burial. Months later, another devastating discovery arrived. One of his former accomplices had found the hidden money. Nobody knew how, nobody knew when, but it was gone. Every single naira stolen, just as he had once stolen from others. The money he trusted, the money he suffered for, the money he smiled about while sitting bruised in a police van. Gone, completely gone. That night, Chinedu sat alone in his prison cell. Everything finally became clear. The money was gone. His freedom was gone. His reputation was gone. His mother was gone. And the opportunities he once dreamed of were gone too. All because he chose a shortcut. Years later, when Chinedu finally walked out of prison, he owned almost nothing. No fortune waited for him. No secret treasure. No magical rescue. Only regret. Deep, painful regret. Yet prison had taught him something. Life could still begin. Again, slowly, painfully, but honestly. He started working as a laborer, then as a store assistant, then as a supervisor. The climb was difficult. Many people refused to trust him. Some never did, but he accepted that trust had to be earned. One day, while speaking to a group of unemployed youths at a community center, he shared his story. A young man asked him a question. When they arrested you, why were you smiling? The room fell silent. Chinedu looked down for several seconds, then he answered, because I thought stolen money would save me. He paused, a sad smile crossed his face. But I learned something. What? Anything gained through evil eventually demands a price. The room remained silent. And trust me, he continued, the price is always higher than you expect. For the first time in many years, his smile was genuine. Not the smile of a thief, not the smile of a fool, but the smile of a man who had finally learned that there are no shortcuts to a meaningful life. If you've made it this far, kindly share your thoughts. And for more interesting videos, kindly subscribe to the channel, like, share and comment.